Hello, and welcome to the Gaia update for the Pisces full moon that's happening on September 20th, 21st, 2021. I'm Adrienne Elise. Well, really intense energy for this Pisces full moon. This full moon happens at 28 degrees Pisces, and that is the very end. Now, when we get to the end of the sign, there's a big culmination of the energy. So this full moon is speaking about how do we get out of the Piscean age? How do we move into the Aquarian age? What needs to be resolved? And of course, the Piscean age has been, was riddled with persecution of the light by the dark, leading us to this upside down world. Pisces is the oneness principle. It's the collective consciousness. It's Christ consciousness, but it's also using collective consciousness to control humanity through duplicity, manipulation, lies, deceit. Now, but the Pisces energy also represents mystical spiritual revelation. So, to get out of the Piscean age, we've got to resolve the duplicity and the lies and the deception. But we also have to reclaim that mystical revelation. And that happens right here in our heart. There's powerful memories being activated in this time of your role at the last shift of ages, at the time of the birth of Christ consciousness embodied in this earth evolution. So this full moon is it's just a very powerful shining of the light on these issues. So very powerful for this full moon in Pisces. It's just 2 days before the equinox as we move over in the shift of seasons. The equinox happens on the 22nd, a very powerful number, very powerful day. So this full moon in Pisces is like kind of ringing a bell as we move into the shift of ages, shift of seasons, shift of ages, right? So a big energy for this full moon is that Mercury is slowing down. We've been feeling the energy of this Mercury retrograde. Mercury doesn't even move into turn retrograde until the 27th of September. But the energy of this Mercury retrograde is so profound. It's got everything that the messages around everything we're dealing with right now. Because as Mercury turns retrograde, it's only 1 degree away from a square with Pluto. That means that Mercury will stay in square to Pluto for 3 weeks and will be already in square to Pluto for this full moon and for the equinox. And then throughout the end of the month and into October. Now, Mercury is the messenger. Mercury is at home, or Mercury is a ruler of Virgo and Gemini, speaking to the mastermind energy. So Mercury in Libra wants justice and harmony, but is also bringing to the table the acute mental awareness and presence that we need to get through these times. So Mercury in Libra wants justice, but in order to have harmony and justice, we must have truth. So that's Mercury going up against in that tense square with Pluto and Capricorn, representing false authority structures. This is exactly what happened in the Piscean age. Dogmatic organizational religious structures took a hold of that mystical revelation energy and kind of basically said, oh, you have to go through us to get to that. Pay your tithes, pay your taxes, we're the keepers of the magic, and turns out they're at the very top, evil Satanists. So this upside down world we've been living in, right? Where dark is light and light is dark, and it must come to resolution if we're ever going to get anywhere. And this is exactly the feeling, the energy of this Mercury square Pluto. But then throw into the mix Venus, now in Scorpio. This is our first Scorpio energy of this year. Very powerful. And bringing the water element, bringing the movement, the depth. Scorpio isn't scared to go face the darkness, but Venus kind of is, this Venus in Scorpio is so powerful because she's coming into T-square with the big player planets, Saturn square Uranus. This is the signature astrology of 2021. We're feeling all year. Now they're out of square right now. They're still loosely in square, but Venus, when our personal planets come and trigger these bigger player planets, that's when we feel what this is about. And Venus is coming home. It's all coming to a head in a way because Venus in Scorpio is speaking to the unresolved darkness and lies and hidden secrets and deceptions. Across from Uranus in Taurus, we're speaking to the dark energies that are unresolved and hidden secrets that are keeping humanity, and particularly the feminine aspect of humanity in all of us, in low self-worth. Uranus and Taurus is speaking to a revolution of wealth, the golden age we're trying to move into. And it's also speaking to humanity's low self-worth. If you don't feel like you deserve it, then it's never going to come. But then what's causing that low self-worth? Where did it even come from? Because it doesn't make any sense. We're sovereign in our God-given right to experience life. By living, we have a God-given right to our own spiritual autonomy, our direct connection. We don't need all of this bullshit anymore because that Christ consciousness we're finding and uncovering is right here in our heart. So we're speaking to clearing the low self-worth of humanity that can move us so we can move into the golden age and receive the abundance of the truth of who we really are. Supernova souls, you're here to lead the way in this because you got really this low self-worth programming, and yet you're incredibly spiritually abundant. So how do we work this out? That has to do with the square to Saturn. Venus square Saturn leading up to this full moon and to the equinox. Venus in Scorpio saying, Saturn in Aquarius is saying, how are we going to build in the new world? And Venus in Scorpio says, can't do it on those lies. Can't do it on that rotten foundation. Can't do it on the low self-worth. Because you'll never be able to execute and celebrate and share and demonstrate the living abundance of the truth of who we really are. So really powerful because ultimately Venus is saying, we got to face, Mercury we all want justice, we want harmony, but we can't have harmony without actual justice. We can't have justice without truth. And Venus is saying, okay, let's go do the deep dive. Let's go face the madness. Part of the energy that's coming up here with this square is deep insecurities. When Venus is triggered, it's like, our deepest insecurities. And of course, it's that hidden, shadowy darkness that Venus herself doesn't even want to look at, and this is what's happened. It's like the voice of the feminine has been turned off because it's like, we don't want to hear that whining and crying anymore, the victimization. And yet, until that victim is heard, that can't be healed, and we can't go forward fractured. Where we go one, we go all. We've got to heal all the parts and the pieces. And so a lot of this is speaking to that disenfranchised, cast aside, victimized feminine, the healer that was persecuted in the Piscean Age. Still continues, today, but we've had a massive shift of energy, right? Where it's like, is it safe now? Is it safe now for that voice to be heard? For that voice to be healed? For us to say, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to you. I'm so sorry. We've got to find these places inside all of us and listen to this voice if we're ever going to get back to the empowerment of the oneness. And that means the strong masculine to be able to support and hold space for that vulnerability. Our vulnerability, if you are aware of the work of Brené Brown, very profound. She studied what makes people happy and how do happy people stay happy. And they allow themselves to be vulnerable emotionally and take chances. Our vulnerability is our greatest strength. So maybe this is why we haven't been able to win the war, right? because that feminine, intuitive, emotional side of all of us has been cast aside, and she's been alone in the dark for long enough. So everything is speaking to the exposure of the dark into the light, the dark truths, so that we can clean it up and get going into the new. We've got some help with this. Very interesting energy here. Mars is now in Libra. Mars will be, is coming into a trine with the north node of the moon in Gemini. And then we'll come into a trine with Saturn and Black Moon Lilith. And so Saturn and Black Moon Lilith are an exact trine pretty much through the end of the month, and Mars will be joining. So an air trine, speaking to the Renaissance that's coming. And so the Renaissance that we're bringing in, this golden age, this age of enlightenment, can't happen while that stuff is hidden, unresolved in the dark. And so it's an interesting time, because for this Pisces full moon and for the equinox and this whole time period, we have got all of the planets speaking. They're all involved in this drama, in this dance, and that's very important. So this Pisces full moon, we have, the Pisces full moon means the sun in Virgo. The full moon is opposite when the sun and the moon are exactly opposite. So the sun is coming to the end of Virgo and will be on that equinox moving over into the sign of Libra. And that will mean the sun and Mercury and Mars all together in Libra fighting for justice. And so, but the sun in Virgo coming to the end degrees of Virgo is the issues of Virgo. Now, Virgo, what I found in the birth chart of supernova souls, often speaks to the unresolved healer. The definitely that feminine. Now, Virgo is also the virgin. It's about clarifying, cleaning, healing, purification. It's also about the birth. So it's a time of second birth, where we're all being born into that true light of who we are. What's kept us in the dark, even knowing who we really were, is that persecution energy, dark, unresolved things that must be revealed in order for us to move forward. And so this time, this season, is a culmination of this kind of long waiting game, where it's like we're going up against the forces. Now, Mercury in slowing down in Libra, in that square for 3 weeks with Pluto, going up against the man, going up against, it's like the false structures of authority that aren't actually, don't even, really, they have no place in our world anymore, right? Because we're coming into our sovereignty. This is the Aquarian age. Where we are in the true brotherhood, right? And those souls are leading, you supernova souls leading the way. It's time to activate back into the destiny of the spiritual healer that you are, the earth, the planetary healer. That means you were there at the beginning of the inception, the vision of what this earth wanted to become, and you are devoted and dedicated. It's the only way you got here. We've all heard this story, and maybe it's good to remember right now, like the lineup of souls that wish they could be here at this time, and you're like, what? I'm just barely hanging on here, and yet there is, you can feel the truth in that, that we are in this second coming. There's no other way. And this energy of the mystery of Christ consciousness coming in one man in a demonstration, which wasn't even one man, at the last shift of ages. It was a whole group of souls holding that vibrational frequency in order for that embodiment to occur. And now that embodiment is occurring in all of us. So, especially you here leading the way because you have the experience, you've gone through the wilderness, you've had that ego death, you've been beaten down, you know. And that whole energy of victimization has kept us all hiding, playing small, hiding even from ourselves. We don't even know. And yet we're being called back out onto the stage. Really powerful because Mars and Libra in trine to the north node of the moon is a sextile it's coming into sextile 2 signs apart from Sagittarius, where the south node. So sextile Mars and Libra sextile Sagittarius is saying, how do we fight without fighting? How do we win the war without engaging into the drama? How do we mastermind our way out of this? The warrior using the art of war to fight without fighting and letting the enemies destroy themselves, right? So this is kind of the energy of this Mercury retrograde and Mars coming into Libra together. And so Mars in this sextile to the south node, trine to the north node, is saying that that is the way we move forward. But we are also resolving the old stories of the past in the South Node Sagittarius, where we feel like we weren't able to complete our quest, you know, or our spiritual journey. And this is a lot of where that low self-worth programming comes from in the advanced soul. Because here were here from the beginning of the vision. You came here, you've shown up in your truth and your light. You were beaten down, persecuted, attacked, and still you showed up. Still you're here. Still you have made it. And so now what? You know, and this Sagittarius activation of the last couple months of the South Node in Sagittarius at the very beginning of the degrees, because the nodes move backwards, huge bloom. There's a massive soul group being activated, and the energy that's kept these leaders from being able to take the stage is because it hasn't been safe for them. You know. But now it's changing. So we got to face the music. We got to step onto that stage. We've got to be the second coming by allowing the second birth. You know, the information that came through from the very beginning around supernova souls was that, like, there's a bigger part of you that you don't even know who you are, and eventually it's got to land here. It's almost like a walk-in, but it's not really. It's more like a soul merge. And this is what's happening. Are you feeling it? This is spiritual ascension. Welcome to the party. Now, it's hard to stay in that energy when the world is just so dark and the attack continues, because what's happened is it appears that the multi-headed monster, the heads have been cut off, but it's writhing and protesting, and it's that covert narcissist energy where they have no problem taking themselves and the whole ship down in order to punish you for your light and clarity. But we know that God wins. And so it's a very interesting time, because as we're being called into the light and onto the stage of the true expression of who we really are, but we don't even know who we are, we have to face the darkness of where we've been persecuted. That's been that unresolved feminine voice that has never been heard. And so there's this unknown trauma coming up in the body. It could be past life, could be this life, memories you're not able to access in your consciousness, and yet the trauma is real. You might be feeling this in the collective, our soul groups coming out, leading the way. Then we're leading the way to come out of the MK Ultra programming. We're all in this comatose state of sleep. And there's just this unresolved trauma energy that's coming up that doesn't make sense, but it's part of where we got to heal this. This is everything this Venus square is saying. And then receive the light. We've been preparing for this whole evolution, to embody this light right here, right now, to step into the house of God, which is your mind. And it's a very different way of operating in the world. And it feels like your life's falling apart. It feels like nothing that was important is important. It's like totally rearranging, and so we need to surrender and rest and support ourselves through this process. But this Pisces full moon is an activation of that profound devotion that has allowed you to be here at this time to make it through the wilderness. It's a validation and activation of that healer, planetary psychic healer that you didn't even know you were, but this is like why everything's been so hard for you. And, healing the issues of the Piscean Age so we can receive back that mystical spiritual revelation. At the shift of ages, the last shift of ages, that mystical revelation was outside. It was a literal angelic light being, visiting you, giving you messages, and that kind of picture. This mystical revelation is that you accessing the soul memory of that you received and experienced in the last shift of ages. See, now we're recognizing that we are the vessel for this energy, and it's the South Node Sagittarius healing is. It's not a specific role you're supposed to play or you got to do this one certain thing. It's just showing up in the truth. In your truth, in your light. There's nothing you need to give up. It also feels like, this ego death experience when you let go of those old personality constructs from these past lives that have been keeping you like a voodoo doll trapped in those old painful stories. And it's like an onion, and that's all shedding. Now that the energies are shifting, that's all got to reveal. It's all got to come up. It's happening really fast. And that's why it feels so incredibly traumatic, because it's so rapid. But it's like, so that we can be this living, breathing example. So there's that feeling of, I don't know who I am. I'm nothing. I don't even exist. And that is because that's that old stories falling away, and then recognizing that the more true part of you is what's landing, and you don't have to give anything up, and nothing is required. You already did it. You're here. You made it. Keep breathing, keep loving, keep showing up in that house of spirit. Make your home, your temple ready for this Christ consciousness to land. Keep your energy in that vibration. And so this full moon, what's coming through is an opportunity in this full moon activation to potentially tap in our own personal way. We need to resolve the Piscean Age, but tap in to the soul memory of the mystical revelation energy that we're all looking for. Like, why can't I feel this connection? Why can't I feel my guides? What's the block? It's like we're in a psychic quarantine, Also, the messages come that a lot of the guides we've been connecting with throughout time, they're all embodied here now. Everybody's here. The whole biblical family, all here. All in bodies, ready to roll. And so it feels like that soul group and that energy of isn't as accessible because it's right here. So, but this Virgo Pisces full moon activation is an opportunity to tap into that soul memory you have within you of that buried and hidden past life under the rubble of the psyche, where you can trigger that God code within you and remember maybe the conscious memory we really need. We don't need to really access all the traumatic memories. The memory we need to access is that mystical spirit, that experience of mystical revelation. Because you experience that for a reason, for now, to embody that energy here. So this is the energy of the Pisces full moon and activation of the planetary healer and the resolving and healing of that dark feminine inside of you that has not been heard. Pisces has an energy of martyrdom and victimization and sacrifice, and these are distortions in the story of Christ consciousness. And so that's all being resolved within us as well. But so this full moon activation is opportunity to work with all of these concepts. I hope you'll consider joining me. This is going to be on Monday, September 20th at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. It's $10. If you can't make the live time, this is hard in some time zones, but that's the energy. It's leading up to the exact full moon, so it's really good timing. But if you can't make the activation in your time zone, just know that it's right there available for you on the replay. We're working outside of time. To access the replay, it's the same link as sign up. The link you use to sign up gets you to the live activation. It gets you to the replay that's available immediately after the live activation. So I hope you'll bring your energy with us to this sacred moment in time together. Supernova souls, it's time for that second birth. Let's do this together. Virgo, the Virgin, birthing us. You birthing the new age. So hang in there. We're in the time of the darkest dark and the lightest light. There's those moments of, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then there's the moments of that massive revelation coming in. So pay attention. There's lots of simple things available right now to support the physical body as the temple, with all of the assault of technological and health tyranny. And this is just really important self-care. It's our time to rest and prepare for the chapter ahead. So hang in there, Supernova souls. Thank you so much for being with me. I deeply appreciate your support. As a Supernova Soul Tribe member on my website, you can, there's a link to donate directly in the information box below. Thank you so much for being with me. I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update, or maybe that full moon activation. There's also a soul group session. This is a group intuitive session going deeper into these issues with past life clearings, contractual arrangements, soul retrieval energy, and timeline alignment. Connecting with your soul group. That's going to be for the equinox on the 22nd, next Wednesday. So look out for that soul group session and the Pisces full moon activation. And thank you so much for being with me. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.